And I give the call to the member for Barton.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I would like to thank the member for Indi for her matter of public importance for the discussion in this House, and the example of Darcy's story and the other issues raised in the member of Indi's contributions this afternoon. I think it's something that I can hear there's a bit of consensus in this chamber around some of the challenges for students in higher education. And I also speak from a place of experience. So before I was a solicitor, I used to work at the University of Sydney for about 8 years in the anatomy department, teaching specifically medical students and a number of other students in the allied health profession. And I understand from that experience a lot of challenges that students go through on campus, and also dealing with cost of living challenges and accommodation. And that was for about 8 years before I was a solicitor. And on the tail end, prior to coming into this House, Deputy Speaker, I had the opportunity to work with St Vincent's de Paul Society for a couple of years, and in that capacity I had the opportunity to look after a very big patch of New South Wales, going up from Wyong out to Blue Mountains down to Helensburgh. And that captured a number of great institutions, number of universities, where a lot of Youth Vinnies members did a lot of engagement with students on those campuses, dealing with cost of living challenges, dealing with housing and accommodation. And so this comes from a place of experience and understanding. I just want to acknowledge that everyone in this chamber seems to be speaking from the same song sheet, knowing that those are the challenges for a lot of students in this industry. And also I've had the opportunity to speak to a number of HSU members and had really active conversations more recently who work in the allied health profession. And this Labor government understands that it's quite tough for students when they're completing mandatory placements, and that is why we are delivering on real cost of living support, which also includes this Commonwealth Prac payment. I believe this assistance is quite careful, it's quite considered, and the payment is helping those who are studying to be teachers, social workers, nurses and midwives, so they can solely focus on upskilling. And having the opportunity to reflect on some of the stories that we're hearing in this chamber today, and also from the member for Indi, the reality is that the University Accord has recommended the government to focus on nursing, to focus on care and teaching professions. And this is responsible government responding to advice provided to us to prioritise key roles and courses. And also in the 2023 Employment White Paper also identified those in care and teaching professions as key enablers for the economy, and that unpaid placements discourage many students in care and teaching professions from enrolling in and completing courses. And as the Minister for Education has said, the Accord is not a plan for one budget, but a blueprint for the next decade and beyond. And you've heard today from a number of people on this side of the chambers, we are going through we've had this policy position developed over a period of time in the Labor Party, and I'm very proud that we have made those changes and we have support in the chamber here today on this. But understand that there's a lot of work to be done to help those who are studying these particular courses. And from 1 July 2025, and around 73,000 students across Australia have been eligible for that $331.65 each week. And it is the first time that a federal government has ever provided financial support to students while they complete their mandatory Prac placements. And I think it's pertinent just to highlight that there is a review, there is opportunity to expand, but this is a conversation that we can continue to have really well, not only in the chamber, outside as well. But I think it's important to highlight this is the first time that a Labor government here, federal government, has introduced this. And we're starting with students again. We're studying nursing, midwifery, teaching and social work to address the urgent need for more students in these areas. And then going back to that University Accord, it's talking about particular courses of priority and focusing on the skill shortage. And to further support students with the cost of living, Labor is cutting 20% from everyone's student debt. I know in my electorate it has been well received, this message. You can see it from the results from this election that it is something that we have committed, that the people have supported and voted for, and really proud that we'll be able to deliver that in the coming days. And I want to again thank the member for Indi for her contributions, and also the member for Mayo as well, sharing the experience with the daughter. I think the concerns today that I'm hearing as well, for someone who's also taught students and had experience of supporting students at the University of Sydney, but also in my capacity at St Vincent's de Paul, I completely understand these challenges.